Bring out the artistic photographer in you. Trick photography and special effects. Visite photography requires skill and good eyes for capture-worthy moments or objects. Photography is to have fun, joy and satisfaction. One such excitement is to be lurking in bushes with a big barrel waiting for tiny birds, while others prefer to spend many days on showing human relations and problems. To make a perfect photo that will meet our expectations, we often need to use proven tricks to make the photos look more attractive, the scenery will be breathtaking, and the portraits will give character. In this article we will try to present useful and interesting tricks and methods we can use to make our pictures more attractive for everyone to enjoy photography. Light painting. Light painting is a great fun, which can not only bring a lot of joy, but also extremely interesting results. The basics of light painting are very simple. Just set the camera on a tripod, set the ISO sensitivity to 400 to 800 and long shutter speed. In your hand you need to have some source of light, a flashlight, a candle or even a cell phone with a large display and painted with letters, shapes, signs. Due to the long exposure time, the light source will be recorded as light streaks. It is worth playing in the night. You need to wear dark clothes that will not be too noticeable in pictures. The recipe for shooting with beautiful figures painted with light is very simple. You can get the same effect as the pros with experience and knowledge. Zoom and twist. Zooming or zoom effect, as some describe this technique, is a very interesting method to focus the viewer's attention on one primary, central location. You need a variable focus lens to mount. The exposure must be set for a long exposure time and the object or model on which you focus should be at the center of the image. Almost immediately after pressing the shutter button, turn the focus ring in the lens. The greater the focal length of the exposure, the deeper the effect. In this way, the central point remains unmoved and sharp, and the whole environment feels as if it merges and concentrates on it. In some cases, large flashes of light can be faked, somehow escaping from the central point. Even though such an effect is certain to be tacky, it should be used wisely in the hands of a wise photographer. It's great to emphasize the important element of a picture when there is a background around it that does not fit the frame. The blur will make the background blurry. You will not be able to get the effect right away. You need to practice a little, beat the focal length with exposure time, aperture value or ISO sensitivity. Accurate photographers sometimes also use rotation instead of zooming. This method, similar to zoom effect, involves rotating the entire camera around the center of the image instead of focal speed. Panning. The panning technique gives you an interesting way to show movement in photos, add dynamics, speed. The object remains sharp and the entire surroundings are moved. Panning is often used to photograph moving vehicles, trains or running people. To achieve this effect, you need to set a long exposure time. This type of photo is usually done by hand. Focus on the main point to be sharp in the picture, and simply move the camera behind the subject. Before we take a picture, it is worthwhile to trace the object. See what speed it moves in which direction. Ideally, speed and direction should be constant. Remember that the slower the speed of the object, the longer the exposure time must be and vice versa. The method is not very simple. You have to practice a little before learning to adjust the camera's movement to the speed and direction of movement of the object and exposure. In addition, any deviation from the movement path of the object or hand movement can completely destroy the effect. Even seasoned photographers usually perform several or more photos in a series, one or several of which are successful. But practice and try it out. Panning gives you a unique effect that, in an extremely dynamic way, can help you move your images. Tilt-shift effect. Tilt-shift lenses allow the photographer to take extra control of depth of field. This leaves only a small portion of the picture sharp and the rest is completely blurred. Many tilt-shift images are made from high perspective. This causes the recipient of the photograph to think that the distance is much smaller and sees the photographed objects as miniature. In addition, it intensifies the low depth of field that is normally obtained in macro photography, where small objects are taken very close. Fortunately, a similar effect can be achieved in digital imaging software, such as Adobe Photoshop or GIMP. Smoke shooting. The art of photography with the smoke brings excellent, effective results, which may seem unattainable for a beginner photographer. Although the smoke is somewhat unpredictable, but when the right frame is caught, the effects may surprise you. Contrary to appearances, photographing smoke is not so difficult and it is worth trying yourself. You can find interesting pictures on the Flickr portal ArtSmoke. Some photographs were created using powerful, studio flashes. Fortunately for our needs, it is simpler and cheaper equipment: normal flash, small backlight, small background of paper or another material, and of course a tripod and a smoke source.